Credit cards are the only product where you can buy things you can't afford, with money you don't have. To impress people you don't even like. And somehow you get rewarded for it, points, cashback. Travel miles. It's like getting a free cookie after signing a lifetime contract. Credit cards are not good or bad. They are tools. But like any powerful tool, if you don't understand how it works, you can hurt yourself. In this video, we're going to break down step by step how credit cards actually work, how banks make money from you, why people get trapped in debt, and how to use credit cards strategically for wealth building. Because when you used it properly, credit cards can help your financial life. Used incorrectly, they can quietly destroy it. Let's simplify it and start with what a credit card really is. A credit card is a short-term loan. Every time you swipe, tap, or click, you're borrowing money. Not spending your own. The bank pays the merchant or the store you're buying from. And you owe the bank, simple. But here's where it gets interesting. You don't have to pay immediately. You get a grace period, usually around 20-30 days. If you pay the full balance within that time, you pay zero interest. That's the key. Credit cards only become expensive when you carry a balance. The truth is, if you are a responsible person, the bank would never make any money. In fact, they would lose money for lending you money to buy and not pay for it for 20 to 30 days. So banks create credit cards to target people that are not responsible. They issue cards to a lot of customers who identify who are the irresponsible ones, because they are the ones that the bank could make money from. Once they identify who those irresponsible customers are, they entice them to keep using their cards, so they may end up carrying a balance, and the bank could make money by charging them interest, and interest on top of interest. Next, let's talk about how banks make money. So why would a bank issue you a credit card so you can borrow money for free for 30 days? Don't be silly. Banks are not giving you free money or rewards out of kindness. They're running a very profitable system, which is their business model. Let's break down for you how they make money. Number 1, interest. If you don't pay your full balance, you get charged interest. And it's not small. Credit card interest rates are often 18%, 24%, and sometimes even higher. This is where most profits come from. Number 2, fees. Banks charge late fees, annual fees, foreign transaction fees. These add up quickly. Number 3, merchant fees. Every time you use your card, the business or the store you purchased from pays a small fee to the bank. So even if you never pay interest, the banks still make money. That's why they want you to use the card often. Do you notice some stores do not accept credit cards, or they require you to buy a minimum dollar amount if you want to pay by credit card? The reason is because the store has to pay a fee to the bank. When the store sells you something for $10, they actually earn less than that because of the fee they have to pay the card company. Also, unless you buy above a certain amount, it's not worth it for the store to pay the fee to the credit card company. Now we talk about the minimum payment trap. As a customer, the most dangerous part about using the credit card is the minimum payment trap. Let's say you owe $1,000. Your minimum payment might be $25. That feels manageable. But here's the problem, most of that $25 goes to interest, not your actual balance. So your debt barely moves. And if you keep spending, your balance grows. This is how people stay in debt for years. It's not because they are irresponsible. It's because the system is designed to stretch payments over time. This takes us to interest and compounding. Remember compounding from investing, where your money grows over time. Credit cards use the same concept, but in reverse. Interest compounds against you. If you carry a balance, interest gets added, then interest is charged on that interest, and the cycle continues. This is why small balances can turn into large debts, and why paying only the minimum is so dangerous. So how does a bank determine how much interest to charge you on your credit card balance? That's where your credit score come in play. This is basically your financial reputation. It tells lenders how risky is this person. Is this person going to pay back the balance? The higher your credit score, it implies you've been responsible in the past and have a good reputation of paying back when the bank lends you money. A low credit score is the opposite, where you've been irresponsible in the past and have records of defaulting on your loan. The bank would categorize you as a risky person that may not pay back, so they need to charge you a higher interest rate in order to make up for the chance that you may default. There are 3 large credit companies that track every person's credit score. The bank could pull your credit, which shows your credit history with a credit score, and determine whether you're a high-risk customer or not. Here are ways that could influence your credit score. Number 1. Payment history. Do you pay on time? This is the biggest factor. Paying your dues timely shows you're a financially responsible person and would be reflected with higher score. Number 2. Credit utilization. How much of your available credit are you using? If you max out your card, your score drops. For example, if you have one card with a limit of $10,000 and you carry $1,000 balance, your credit utilization is 10%. If you have 2 cards, each with a limit of $10,000, and you still carry total of $1,000 balance, your credit utilization just dropped to 5%. The lower your credit utilization, the better it is for your credit score. Number 3. Length of credit history. The longer your accounts exist, generally the better. Because if you have a long history of timely payments, it shows you're a responsible person. As opposed to a short history which may not tell the whole story about your responsibility level. Number 4. Credit mix. Different types of credit can help improve your credit score by demonstrating your ability to manage various forms of debt responsibly. A well-rounded credit profile, which includes a mix of revolving and installment credit accounts, can signal to lenders that you are a reliable borrower. This diversity in credit accounts can help reinforce that you are a responsible borrower and supports a stronger credit score over time. Number 5. New credits. Opening too many accounts quickly can hurt your score. Lenders may view multiple new accounts as a sign of increased credit risk, which can negatively impact your score. Rapidly opening new accounts can lower the average age of your credit accounts, which is a factor in your credit score. If you open many cards within a short period, and the intention is to use them because you have some big purchases coming, this would increase your credit utilization, which is a factor that would lower your credit score. Also, having too many cards increase your chance of missed payment, which is another factor that have significant negative impact on your credit score. To mitigate these risks, it's advisable to manage your credit responsibly, maintain a steady payment history, and avoid opening too many accounts at once. Why do we care about your credit score? Why does this matter? Because your credit score affects your ability to get loan approvals. It determines the interest rates you get charged and your financial opportunities. It's not just a number. It's your reputation, whether the bank would lend to you. It's your ability to leverage. Why do you care about leverage? Because there will be times that you are buying a big-ticket item such as a car or a house, where you do not have all the cash to buy them straight out. That's when you need a loan from the bank, who would lend you the money to buy the car or house and repay them over an agreed-upon number of years. If you have bad credit, the bank could either charge you a very high interest rate to cover their potential loss in case you default, or the bank could decide not to lend to you, then you cannot buy the car or house you wanted. In the event that the bank does lend to you, and they charge you a very high interest rate, this means it actually costs you more to buy that car than it does for someone with better credit score, because you end up paying more on interest toward the car than the person with better credit score. So if you don't want to waste extra money on interest, there's an incentive to maintain a good credit score. Let's move on and talk about financial psychology. Why using credit card make people spend more? Because this is where credit cards become dangerous. Studies show people spend more when using credit cards compared to cash. Why? Because it doesn't feel like real money. You're just swiping a piece of plastic to buy anything. It feels like monopoly money. You just swipe, and swipe, or spend, and spend. People forget that they actually have to pay for the items when the credit card comes due. This is why credit cards are so profitable. Not because of maths, but because of behavior. Once people miss their payment or cannot afford to pay off the full balance, that's when profits start piling for credit card companies. Now let's flip to the other side. How to use credit cards correctly. Because credit cards can be powerful if used correctly. Here's how. Number 1. Pay in full every month. This is non-negotiable. If you do this, you avoid interest, you build credit, and you keep control. Number 2. Treat it like debit. Only spend what you already have. If you can't afford it in cash, don't put it on the card. Number 3. Keep utilization low. Try to use less than 30% of your limit. Lower is better. Number 4. Automate payments. Avoid late fees and missed payments. Set up automatic payments. Number 5. Use rewards strategically. Cashback and points are bonuses, not reasons to spend. Don't chase rewards. Now here's where things connect to wealth building. Credit cards and wealth building. Credit cards don't build wealth directly, but they support your financial system. Good credit can help you access better loan terms, reduce borrowing costs, and improve financial flexibility. And that matters when you're investing in the stock market, building a portfolio strategy, and navigating economic cycles. Because lower interest costs mean more money available for investing. Anytime we talk about money and investing, risk management always play a key role. Credit cards amplify risk if misused. So manage it such that don't carry balances long-term, because this means high interest payment. Avoid lifestyle inflation. This goes back to don't buy it if you cannot afford it with cash. Don't rely on credit for emergencies. You need to save at least 3 to 6 months of expense in your emergency fund, not relying on your credit card that carries over 20% interest rate. Build strong financial habits. Because credit should support your life, not control it. Finally, let me leave you with this. Credit cards are not the problem. Misunderstanding and misusing them is. When used wisely, they're a convenience. Used poorly, they're a trap. The difference comes down to discipline, awareness, and financial psychology. Because at the end of the day, the card doesn't control you. Your habits do. If this helped you understand how credit cards really work, you're already ahead of most people. Because most people use credit without understanding it. Subscribe for more content on investing, stock market strategies, financial psychology, and long-term wealth building. And remember, credit is a tool, and like any tool, it works best when you know exactly how to use it. Click like and subscribe. See you in the next video.